Hey everyone, and welcome back to AIPLP. Today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah.
A deep dive that's pretty loaded, I'd say. We're going to be looking at what Monica Lewinsky's been saying lately
Hmm.
about the Clinton scandal.
Yeah.
It's been over 2 decades, and she's got some new thoughts to share.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that she's looking back at it all through like a new lens. The whole hashtag #MeToo movement has really changed things, and it makes you rethink how she was treated back then.
Yeah, and it's not like she's hiding away in some quiet corner. She went on Call Her Daddy.
Oh, wow.
That's a huge podcast for Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah.
No holds barred. Total truth-telling.
Yeah. So she chose that on purpose. It means something.
Exactly. She didn't shy away from anything. And one of the things that really stuck out was her comments about Jay Leno,
Leno. Oh, yeah.
specifically how he used to make fun of her on The Tonight Show all the time.
I mean, for those of us who weren't exactly glued to the TV back then in the late 90s, can you give us a sense of like how bad it was? Why did she single him out like that?
Well, Leno was like the biggest name in late night comedy.
Huge.
Everyone was watching him. And every night, it seemed like Lewinsky was the punchline.
Oh, man.
Jokes about how she looked, her
Mhm.
weight, the whole relationship with Clinton. It was relentless.
Oof. Yeah, I remember those jokes. It felt like she was being turned into this cartoon.
Yeah.
But the worst part, she wasn't famous or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She wasn't a politician or a celebrity who chose to be in the public eye.
Mhm.
She was just a regular person
Right.
caught in this huge media storm.
Right.
It's like she had no way to fight back.
And that's what she's saying now.
Right.
She was up against the president of the United States
Yeah.
and this whole media machine, and she was just on her own.
It's a crazy power imbalance when you think about it.
Totally. And then she goes on to say that Clinton, well, obviously he didn't write Leno's jokes,
Right.
but he should either resign to really own what he did, or if he was going to stay in office, he should have protected her more from all that public shaming.
That's something that's always bothered me too. Like, Clinton just went on with his life,
Yeah.
and Lewinsky's been carrying this weight for years and years.
It's like she became the scapegoat.
It really shows how women are treated so differently in these situations.
Yeah, men can often just brush it off and keep going.
And their reputations barely take a hit.
And by the way, if you're finding all this as thought-provoking as we are,
Yes.
hit that like button and subscribe to AIPK. We love diving deep into these important topics, and
Yeah.
your support really keeps us going.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about Leno and Clinton.
Right.
But let's talk about Lewinsky herself, because what strikes me is how resilient she is.
Absolutely. She didn't just survive this whole thing.
Right.
She found her own voice and is using her platform to help others.
Yeah, she could have just disappeared,
Easily.
but she became this advocate against cyberbullying and public shaming.
Which is even more of a problem now with social media.
You're right. Think about all the horrible things people say online now.
It's constant.
And it's not just talk. She's out there giving TED Talks, writing articles.
Yeah.
She even produced a documentary about public shaming.
Makes you think how different things would have been for her if social media was around back then.
Totally.
Yeah.
Would she have had a better chance to defend herself? Would people have listened more?
It's a really interesting question. Technology can be so damaging, but it also gives people a way to tell their own story.
Yeah, and Lewinsky's been really honest about how the scandal affected her life, personally and professionally.
Yeah, she's talked about having PTSD, anxiety, and depression,
Right.
and how it's been hard to find work because people are afraid of the association with the Clintons.
She said she's lost jobs because of it.
It's like this permanent mark on her record even after all this time.
It's like she's being punished forever for something she didn't even do.
And that brings us to this idea of public shaming, right? Like, as a society, we think we can just punish people, often in really public and humiliating ways for things they might have done wrong.
It's not just celebrities either.
Yeah.
Think about how people get shamed online for what they look like, or what they believe in, or even how they raise their kids.
It's become a way to control people, and it can really hurt them.
And Lewinsky's been very outspoken about this. She says it's just another form of bullying,
Right.
and that we all need to be more careful about what we say and do.
And she's not saying people shouldn't be held accountable.
No.
She just wants us to be more compassionate and understanding.
Yeah, to see the human side of things, even when we disagree with someone's choices.
It's a powerful message, especially now when it seems like everyone's so quick to judge.
Absolutely. We've gone down a lot of rabbit holes today, and we're only just getting started.
There's so much more to unpack
Exactly.
about power and accountability and how the media's changed.
Definitely. So stay tuned, and if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe to AIPAP to stay up to date on all our deep dives.
We'll be back soon with more.
You know, it's crazy to think how much the media has changed since the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, it was all about the 24-hour news cycle and those tabloid headlines.
Right, just a few big names controlling what everyone saw and heard.
And the internet was barely a thing.
Right, no social media for her to, tell her side of the story or find people who understood what she was going through.
It's like she was stuck in this media bubble with everyone judging her and no way to get out.
And she's talked a lot about how that felt. Not having any control over her own story.
Yeah.
And how all that negative attention just kept coming at her. It really messed with her mental health.
It's just awful to think about what she had to deal with. It really shows you how the media can turn on someone.
And just totally destroy them, especially when they rush to judge and don't even try to get the whole story.
And this is where cyberbullying comes in.
Cyberbullying.
Yeah. I mean, the term wasn't really around back then, but all that online hate she got.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it was. It's like a digital attack on her reputation.
It's like a public stoning, but online. And it can be so damaging.
Totally. And the scary thing is, it's even worse now.
Way worse.
With social media, it's so easy for rumors to spread, and people can hide behind fake names and just say the most horrible things.
It's like we've lost our sense of humanity online.
You're right. It's so easy to forget that there's a real person on the other side of the screen.
And Lewinsky's been really vocal about this. She keeps saying that we need to think about the impact of what we say online.
Yeah.
That we have to build a more compassionate and supportive online world.
It's such an important message, especially now when everyone's so connected.
And what's amazing is that she didn't let all this break her. After all that trauma,
Right.
She came out of it fighting for change.
Yeah, she could have just disappeared from public life, tried to rebuild everything quietly.
Right.
But she chose to use her experience to speak out against injustice and fight for a better world.
It's pretty inspiring. She took something so painful and turned it into something positive.
It really shows her strength and courage, and her belief in forgiveness and second chances.
It gives you hope that even after going through something terrible, you can still heal and grow.
And speaking of hope, one of the things that really stood out to me in her interviews was her emphasis on personal accountability.
Interesting.
She's not making excuses for her part in what happened, but she's also saying that other people need to be held accountable too.
Especially those in power.
Exactly. And it's bigger than just the Clinton scandal. She's talking about a whole cultural shift.
Yeah.
Where we're more willing to challenge systems of oppression and make sure everyone is held to the same standards.
No matter who they are or how much influence they have.
Right. It's about creating a fairer and more just society. And that includes being more critical of the media.
Oh, yeah.
And how they treat women who are caught up in scandals.
Lewinsky's story is like a warning sign about how dangerous the media can be when they have too much power, and how important it is to demand balanced and fair reporting.
We can't just sit back and blindly accept what they tell us. We have to question things.
Right.
Look for different viewpoints and call them out when they're being biased or sensationalizing things.
And this brings up another point that Lewinsky's been talking about. The double standard for men and women after a scandal.
Yeah, it's like there's this unwritten rule that women get judged way harsher than men.
Like women are expected to be perfect and their mistakes are never forgotten.
While men can get away with almost anything and even be praised for it.
And that double standard is everywhere in our culture, in the way we talk, the stories we tell, even how we decide who's to blame.
It's like women are held to a totally different set of rules.
And it can really hurt their lives and careers.
Yeah, it limits their opportunities, ruins their reputations, and makes it so hard to move on from the past.
And that's why what Lewinsky's doing is so important. She's fighting against these double standards and calling for a more fair and understanding way of holding people accountable.
She wants a world where women are treated with the same respect as men.
Where their mistakes don't follow them forever.
That's something worth fighting for.
Definitely. And it means all of us have to be more aware of our own biases and challenge those sexist attitudes and behaviors.
We all have to work to create a world that's more inclusive and supportive for women. It's really amazing to see how Lewinsky's used this whole experience to make a difference.
Yeah.
She's become like this powerful voice for people who've been through similar things, shamed or silenced or just pushed aside.
What I find really interesting is how much she focuses on the mental and emotional impact of public shaming.
Yeah.
She's been so open about her own struggles with PTSD and anxiety and depression.
Right.
And she's really become a champion for mental health awareness.
It makes you realize that these experiences can leave such deep scars.
For sure.
And that healing takes time and support, sometimes even professional help.
And she's not just talking about individual healing either.
Right.
She wants to see a change in how we think about shame and accountability as a society.
Hmm.
She's pushing for a more restorative approach to justice.
What does that mean?
Well, it's about focusing on empathy and understanding and helping people rehabilitate
Okay.
instead of just punishing them and making them suffer.
So it's like saying, hey, we all mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's learn from it, grow from it, and figure out how to move forward in a way that helps everyone.
Exactly. It's a really powerful message, especially in today's world where everyone's so quick to judge and condemn.
It's like she's calling for more compassion and forgiveness.
Yeah, a more humane way of dealing with conflict and when people do wrong.
You know, this whole conversation has really made me think about how we use our words and actions. It's so easy to get caught up in all the outrage and negativity online.
Yeah.
To just jump on the bandwagon and criticize and judge.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that there are real people with real feelings on the other side of those screens.
It's so important. And I think Lewinsky's story is a powerful reminder that we all have a part to play in creating a more compassionate and supportive world.
So what can we do?
Well, we can start by being more empathetic in how we interact with others online and offline.
Okay.
Being more willing to listen and try to understand different points of view,
Yeah.
and being more careful about how we use social media.
So it's about recognizing that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect.
Absolutely. No matter what they've done in the past or what their situation is right now.
And creating a culture where people feel safe to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah, to apologize and to learn and grow without being afraid of being publicly shamed or rejected.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question to think about.
Okay.
How can we each challenge this culture of public shaming and create a more compassionate and forgiving world?
It's something Lewinsky's trying to figure out, too.
Yeah.
And it's something we all need to be thinking about.
If you're inspired by Lewinsky's story and her work, I encourage you to check out her advocacy and support organizations fighting against cyberbullying and promoting mental health awareness.
Those are such important issues. And a big thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it interesting and thought-provoking.
And if you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends.
Yes, spread the word.
We'll be back soon with more deep dives into fascinating and important topics. Until then, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep those conversations going.